Bradford Matters, Black Voices in Conversation. Proud to be Black History Month series of inspiring conversations with local leading black professionals of industries from science, construction, engineering, healthcare, politics, education, arts, culture, sports, fashion, retail, food, music and more. It's on Zoom on the 18th, 21st, 25th and 28th of October, 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. This forum is for young people aged 14 to 25. Register free and start building a strong, sustainable future. Contact Bradford Matters on www.eventbrite.co.uk. This event is supported by Windrush Generations UK and City of Bradford Metropolitan District.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nigel Guy, and welcome to our series, Proud to be Bradford Matters, Black Voices in Conversation. Welcome to Bradford Matters. We're glad you can join us, and we're having special guests who've been talking about their life, about their journey in education as well as their career. And we're talking to leading professionals and those in the industry to becoming leading professionals. And thank you for joining us. This event is recorded and will be shown on YouTube. So you'll have another opportunity to hear and what's being said. And those who are actually watching on YouTube will be able to watch it as many times as they'd like and gain some insight from people who are a guest. There'll be opportunities for people to ask questions. And I'm going to pass you over. My name is Nigel Guy from Windrush Generations, and thank you very much. Joined with Charles Dacus, also from Windrush Generations, and our host today is Lewis Beresford from Windrush Generations as well. Over to you, Lewis.
Okay, thank you, Nigel, and welcome to everyone. Today we have a very special guest who is Casey, and she is going to empower and inspire you to achieve more and do more for yourself so you can have a more enjoyable and fruitful career. Now, currently, Casey is a digital assistant producer and an assistant podcast producer with Sky News. She has 2 degrees and she got first in both degrees, so she is very academic in many ways. And at university, she used to be the news editor for the website or the newspaper at the university. Casey has also taken a year abroad, and she went to one of the universities in the United States in Virginia, and I'm trusting she would share some of that experience with us. And when Casey is not involved in academic stuff, she also plays netball as well. So Casey, as I would hand over to you, you can speak for about 10 minutes, share your story with us, what you think is important. And after 10 minutes, we will get into a discussion, have questions and answers. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, it sounds good to me. Do I sound all right? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, yes. You sound all right. So I'll hand over to you now, and you do as you please with us.
Yeah. So, yeah, my name's Casey Magloire. I've grown up for the majority of my life in and around Bradford, so Queensbury and Halifax as well. And I think probably the best place to start, especially talking to like other young people, because I'm around a similar age, I'm 24 at the minute, is probably to start like in education. So after secondary school, I finished my A-levels and I did politics, English literature, and history. And I wasn't that happy with my A-level results, but luckily enough, it got me into the University of Kent, and I was actually specifically really dead set on Kent purely for the fact that it offered time abroad, and that came as a built-in element of my degree. So the University of Kent, I studied politics and international relations with a year abroad studying in North America, and it was really my time at Kent and in the US that ingrained this love for politics, political communication, current affairs, and that's how I kind of fell into what I'm doing now. So it was at Kent that I was set on going to America, and it's in America where I said, right, I'm going to say yes to anything and everything and try and have the best experience. And my friend came up to me and said, Case, have you heard they do this course? It's for free and you can just do it as an extra module, but you can be a radio presenter and they'll teach you how to do it. And I have a really bad fear of public speaking. I avoid it where possible, which doesn't make sense for this right now, but I'm getting better at it. And I said, right, I said I was going to say yes to everything. Said yes, went to this radio class, and a part of it is that we had to host our own weekly radio show on anything we wanted, organize it, edit it, produce it, and it was based in the center of campus in basically a glass box, and everybody could hear you. And it was probably the most terrifying thing I've ever done. So I sat there every Thursday, 7 till 8 p.m, talking. I already attracted attention anyway because of my accent. And went, oh, I like this like media side of politics, and I discussed the differences between the US and the UK, and I really started to fall in love with it. When I came home, I joined the university the university newspaper, and by the second term, I was the editor for the sports section on our website. That entailed me covering the biggest event on campus, which was varsity, which is basically, if you don't know about varsity on campus, it's where all the sports teams on campus play all the sports teams of the rival university. It's about 135 events across a week, and I was the person in charge of doing all the media coverage, keeping track of scores, keeping track of which university was winning at which point. I had about 30 journalists underneath me, 20 photographers, 15 social media people, and about another 15 presenters, just trying to keep all our social media feeds up to date, our website up to date. Obviously it wasn't just me, but a giant team. But that was when I really fell in love with journalism specifically. I finished my year. Obviously I graduated during COVID, which was very different. And I spent my master's and the latter part of my undergrad basically studying at home. And it was there that I kind of decided that I needed to create more opportunities for myself and do more things for myself. And I started a podcast with my friend. I joined the University of Leeds, which is where I did my master's. We joined the radio show. We joined the TV station. I was hosting the US election live for the first time, doing presenting, like where you could actually see me as well, which was like a step up from the radio that already scared me before. And I started to produce my own content, started to learn how to edit and things like that. And it was there, and I think it's probably then that I really got the most experience and the most transferable skills into my current job now. And I think if I had any advice for current university students, it will be to get involved in societies that are linked to things that you want to do in the future, because you're surrounded by all these people with like this wealth of knowledge. You're ready to share it for free, and as soon as you leave university, you'll soon find out that that is pretty hard to come by. So I definitely capitalized on that. After my master's, I'd gone through this lengthy process of applying to the graduate scheme here at Sky, and that was about, oh gosh, I applied in April and I got the job in September. So it was a couple months of applications going through the whole process, and especially if you're going through long application processes, I know it could be tough, but you really have to focus on the detail that they're putting into these job descriptions, what makes you unique as well in the company that you're applying for. So the reason why I chose Sky is because this graduate program specifically focused on learning and adapting new skills. So you didn't have to necessarily have a wealth of experience, but you had to have the drive and the initiative to want to learn more. And for me, in my application, that came across with all the stuff I'd done throughout university. So the university newspaper, the podcast I'd started, the radio show I'd done, the student TV work I'd done as well. I think what people want to see now more than ever, especially in the media industry, is that you're willing to learn and that you're going out there and creating opportunities for yourself as well. So to kind of bring it up to where I am now, because I'm not sure where I am in the 10 minutes. I'm currently an assistant digital producer, and in a couple months' time, I'll go on to being a podcast producer as well. And basically, my job is to look at the news, look at what's going on in the world, and the minute I'm just getting started writing, getting like my name on the website. I think Sky News on the app alone has about 3 to 5 million users a day, and articles are getting about 100,000 views per article. So it's a pretty big machine, but Sky's very big on developing talent and developing talent from diverse backgrounds as well. I think across this whole thing, my advice to young people now would be to try and create your own opportunities where possible. Growing up in the North, I found it especially difficult to try and break into the media industry compared to my London friends, because they had the studios here, they had the newspapers here, they had all the movies and the events were usually here, networking events are usually in London as well. But there's nothing that says that you creating a YouTube channel in your room isn't just as good as someone who does it in London or went to a workshop about it in London. So you doing that shows that you have the initiative, shows that you have the drive, and you can have just skills and then the finished product to show employers as well, to show what you can do. My second thing would be throughout the application process, especially post-COVID, it's very long. I did all mine organized through a spreadsheet, and you can't be dead set on just one thing. Like, you've got to keep applying, you've got to keep doing more. There's so many opportunities out there, especially for minority groups right now, that when you do enough research, you can really find some great opportunities. And it was purely through me staying up to date with different companies that I admired and getting in touch with people and hearing about different schemes that I found this job. And I think that's the hardest thing, staying on top of it. So I definitely recommend a spreadsheet or using apps like Notion, which can organize your applications and get you sorted in that respect as well. Wow. And my final point would definitely be to aim higher than what you think you can. I always laugh because every so often I'll apply for something a bit rogue and a bit different. So before this, I've been a digital marketing intern. Even as a newspaper editor, I'd never done it before. And every time I get something, it's always a job I never thought I was able to do. But I think you have to remind yourself that anyone who's had your job before or who's done the job before also had to learn it. So if you've got the capacity to learn, then you've also got the capacity to do a job. And you shouldn't limit yourself to what you think you're capable of, because you can always learn to do more. So I think definitely apply for those jobs that are a bit more outlandish, because the worst they can say is no. And if you get it, then you're up tenfold for trying to stretch yourself and better yourself and push harder. And realistically, if you don't know how to do something, you ask how to do it and you learn and you keep improving and you go for it that way. But yeah, I think, is that about 10 minutes I've done there?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is about. So that's good. That was really inspiring and engaging and really exciting to hear your story and how you managed to navigate the territory. I was going to ask you initially about advice for people getting into education or in education, but you spoke about this already. So I know you spent a year abroad in Virginia. So I want to begin by asking you about that before getting other people to ask you questions. So what did you learn? What was useful about the year abroad in Virginia? What do you want to share with young people about taking trips and how that impacted on your success, your future?
Yeah, I think if you ask anyone who's done a year abroad, probably they're bragging about it. And if you ask anyone who did my year abroad, we call it like the best year of our life so far, because it was genuinely that. If you have the opportunity to study abroad, I'd definitely take like a look into it. And don't be put off by the cost necessarily, because there are schemes that can help people in different circumstances get out there and have a go. And even if it's just for a term, if it's just for a year, I think my year abroad ended up being cheaper tuition wise than any of my other 4 years in the UK. So there's definitely ways to look into it. And had I known about all the opportunities and scholarships beforehand, I definitely would have even looked into during 3 or 4 years, like my entire time out there. Those who have like special talents, sports, American universities have so many opportunities for you. And it's a bit different now with Brexit, but I know the European universities are a lot cheaper as well. I've got friends who have zero student debt because they said, I'm going to go to the Netherlands instead. So I think definitely look into the different places and don't be scared, because anywhere you go, you make a friend. So that shouldn't be something that puts you off. And there are also cheaper alternatives to university outside of the UK as well. I think the biggest thing that that America taught me though was probably just to be brave and try everything. And I think sometimes you can be scared to do something, but you don't realize that the new thing you're about to do could be something you love, and that shouldn't hold you back. And I think because I was in America and I was that element of being embarrassed to try something new wasn't there as much as in England. I was like, well, no one knows me. If I embarrass myself, I'm gone in a year. If I had that same mentality in England, I don't know how many more skills I probably would have built up. Because like I said, I learned how to edit, I learned how to podcast, I learned how to do all these little things. I traveled by myself for the first time. If I didn't have that same fear, then I would have done all of that just years ahead, and I would have been miles ahead. So I think, yeah, traveling definitely gives you a sense of independence, and it can really introduce you to some of the best people as well. At the end of my year, I was sat in the library, and my friends were talking about where they were going next. And they're like, oh, I'm going to China to volunteer. I'm going to Lithuania, one girl went to, and one girl's going, I'm going to Madrid. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think we could do that again. And they're like, yeah, here's all these resources. And it's just a great way to network, find out about new opportunities that I'd never even considered. And yeah, I had friends jetting all over the world just because they made connections with different people and they didn't know about these new opportunities. So if you have the chance to travel, go, be brave and try everything and meet new people and learn more.
That's really excellent. So was the student experience in Virginia very different from what it's like in the UK? Because I imagine some people might want to know how the experiences are different or similar.
Yeah, I think it's completely different. Even the way they study is really different. I was used to doing everything in like lots of depth, and they just wanted breadth and like brevity, which is really different. I think it's different in terms of like the culture on campus. Even within the Black community on campus, it was like African American, African, Caribbean, and this whole new dynamic of people who got mixed into this like Black umbrella. It was really cool. I think the biggest differences would be, oh gosh, I think opportunity actually. I think they had such a array of things you could do on campus like I've never seen before. I used to walk out of my dorm room when there'd be a concert, or I'd go down to we had a stadium on campus, and you like everything you did could be 10 times bigger and better. And I think that's probably one of the best things that America has to offer.
Okay, let me open up to the audience to see if anybody has any question for you, because this is a dialogue. I imagine, Gabby, do you have anything you want to say?
Oh, you put me on the spot there. Yeah, because I studied media and communication at university as well, so it'd just be interesting what like what did you put on your CV to help you get that role? The role that you're at now at Sky.
Yeah, so I kind of worked backwards with everything I did. I went on LinkedIn and I saw people who did jobs I wanted to do in the future. And then I said, okay, what did they do? And I went back to the beginning and tried to follow like a path. So I realized that a lot of like the media and communication roles were looking for things like editing, digital marketing kind of things. And if I couldn't go straight into media, I kind of bypassed it and went, all right, I'll do digital marketing. I'll get some skills there. And I'll kind of pick up some skills at university. I think probably the best things I put on my CV were probably student media. Probably student media is the thing that's prepared me the best for this. Anything I did myself, they always look for things you did yourself. So I had a blog at one point, and I think probably the most significant thing is having a place on your CV which they can like click on. So I made a website and I displayed all my work on the website. So I had a section for everything I've done on blogs, everything I've done in radio and podcasting, everything I've done in filmed and edited, because I made a documentary at one point, and it's all on like a virtual CV, and that's a link on my CV. So any employer who was looking at my work could click on it and basically see everything I've done. Instead of just reading about it, could visually see it as well. And I think that's really important in like the media industry.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because I think LinkedIn's really helpful when finding jobs. I know I used to look and see who was in the role or in the job that I was applying for, and like reach out to them and contact them and just be like, hi, I'm Gabriella, I'm applying for this role, and that's kind of helped me stand out from the crowd as well. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. I noticed Julia has her hand up. Julia?
Good evening. It's interesting that the last speaker, or second to last speaker, was just saying what she's done in order to, if you like, capitalize on the market in the area that in her expertise of where she needs to be. Interesting. Did you do that prior to them actually interviewing you? Because obviously things going in the digital format, it seems to be more advantageous to people of color, should I say. So did they embark on that purely because of your the way that you captured evidence of what you've done and how you presented it before they actually knew that you were Black? Because I've been blogging and tweeting and doing all kinds of things, and even though I'm at retirement age, and don't hold back, I know I don't look my age, but please do. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, I've found that the opportunities of even now, and I'm having to decline employment because I don't need to be doing that anymore. I've been there, I've done it, and I've worked the hard way. You go for these interviews, you see people, and as soon as they see that you're Black, it's move on. Not that I didn't get the job, but I've had to fight for the job to prove my worth. And I think digital, LinkedIn, blogging, tweeting is another avenue that people need to be capitalizing on. I'd like to hear if that's what happened to the previous speaker, please. Has it enhanced her capacity to enable her to get the position at Sky?
My role's in digital now, so it's like my whole like job at the minute is pretty much encompassed in all that. I think it really depends on the company. I think companies now can't really avoid this whole digital aspect. And with digital comes a face. And companies are now much more aware that those faces need to be diverse. And I think that's played to my hand, definitely. With this role specifically, it was designed for minority groups and for people from lower economic backgrounds as well. So I think digital in a sense is brilliant, that you can kind of create your own opportunities, like I was saying before. And also it's amazing that now that we're all far more interconnected, that they do need those diverse voices, and they are coming to our communities more often to start having these conversations and to hear our perspective more. So yeah, I think if you have the opportunity to get more involved in digital, I'd definitely do it if I were you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Anybody else want to ask a question, make a comment? Because I have a couple more questions for Casey.
Just want to thank everybody for being on the platform. I think we're esteemed with having people from all over the UK. We've got Sonia Winifred, who's got a great portfolio in the borough of Lambeth in London, and also Julia Davidson. They have a very strong connection with their communities and the influential community. So to hear Casey speak, and also they can help impart some knowledge as well. So Casey, thank you very much for joining us again, because Charles has a question for you.
So you made a point earlier on when you were talking about aiming higher, and actually, it really resonated with me with that little point. And I just wanted to ask a question about drivers and what drives you really, because I actually think that's an absolutely brilliant point to make in terms of confidence and in terms of aspiration. But what are your drivers?
I think my family has probably the biggest part to play in that, definitely. I think I've just constantly been surrounded by successful people. Yeah, definitely, especially like my mum and dad have always kind of expected something of me as well, which felt like pressure until I realized myself that I could achieve it as well. And my second thing is that I think people underestimate the success that they already have a lot of the time. So the times where I've doubted myself, I've had to kind of like look back at my track record and go, oh, actually, no, so far I've been all right. I think I can push myself that little bit further. So I think it's just always being very self-aware of what you've already done and making sure that you're not in the same cycle of doing the same thing over and over again. And yeah, so and that also coupled with the reminder that there's not many people who look like me in the positions and the places that I will be entering. So I always know that when I walk in, I like to see representation that makes me feel more comfortable. So being that representation and making other people feel comfortable as well in the places that I want to work in also kind of pushes me further. So I know that when I get to the next level, I'd love to see more people like me, but to see more people like me, I have to do it myself also. So I think family and really pushing myself to be the representation I want to see in the world are probably two of the biggest drivers and motivators.
Well, thanks for that. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, and to just add a little onto that question, Casey, were there any challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. In terms of challenges, I guess it's kind of off the back of that, is that I think we have this really bad habit of, well, I have a really bad habit of imposter syndrome, which if you haven't heard of it before, it's that thing where you get to a certain place and you go, oh, I'm not supposed to be here, I'm out my depth, I'm not good enough. And I think kind of reminding myself that I've earned every position and everything I've got so far is really important as well. So I think imposter syndrome can really stop you from trying to do more. But I actively try to overcome that and push myself, which causes me at times to stop and go, you've been doing the same thing for like 7 months now, Case, come on, move on. But and I think getting out of that pattern and that routine can be really difficult because it can be really scary. Other than that, challenges, the biggest thing after that is the pandemic. So I think that the pandemic really forced me to reevaluate how I work and how I do things and the skills that I have and how they can best be utilized in different times. And I realized that through A levels, where I went wrong is that I thought I could sit down and do 7 to 10 hours of work and achieve something. When when in fact what I need to do was probably start at 2 p.m. when my brain starts to kick in, and do like 5 hours solid. So I think the challenges I've overcome are just like little things in the pandemic, of being stuck, of being feeling like I'm not slowing down and not being able to keep up at university, especially, and having to do everything from home and online. And that's just overcoming them, is just being very self-aware of how I work and working better and not harder, I guess.
Were there other places you could have gone to for support at university to, help you to manage a situation better?
I think at university, I had a really good personal, especially my master's. Actually, no, undergrad and master's, I had a really good personal tutor, and both of them were really good, and actually probably pushed me more. I think my last personal tutor was expecting me to do a doctorate, which was not going to happen, but it was nice to know that someone else had that belief in you also, especially from like an academic who could kind of see your work and what you were doing.
Never say never.
But yeah, maybe in the future I'll go back to do a doctorate, but not right now.
Okay.
Louis?
I think friends as well were huge. I think especially in the pandemic, when I think all of us had lost our jobs at one point, and just knowing that there was other people in the same position, and going, well, actually, we can't do as well as what we thought we were going to do, or we're not on the same track as what we were, because a pandemic hit. And that's pretty huge. And it's not us being lazy, it's not us being slow, it's not us not doing enough, it's us now having to readjust to this huge thing that happened and kind of affected 2 of the most significant years of our education and our like entry into employment. So yeah, I think friends and really good tutors in university were pretty big there. Obviously family, but like I always go on about my family anyway.
Okay, Louis, Sonia, when you want to ask the question?
Sonia. Sonia, your hand is up. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Casey, that was really interesting. Thank you. When you started, you said that it was more difficult for you in Bradford, around that area, and you felt it was easier for young people in London, or people in London. And I just wanted to say that it's equally difficult for young people in London. Certainly in Lambeth, where I'm working, I'm the cabinet member for Equalities and Culture here in Lambeth, and we've just set up what we call the Elevate, which elevate neighbourhoods. So we managed to get some funding from the Mayor's London Borough of Culture Fund, specifically for young people, because there was a lack of young Black people in the digital and creative industry. So we've set this up, and it's run by young people themselves, and they've created this Young People's Neighbourhood, and it's built around organisations both in the community and outside the community, providing opportunities for them, that first job, that experience, and it's going really well. So we continue to fund it. But what I wanted to ask you, because it really is, it's quite competitive. So as much as we're guiding them, giving these opportunities, you said, to build confidence, when it comes to the CV, because it is so competitive, and we have people like you, absolutely brilliant. So what makes a good CV going forward? What makes a good CV?
So I kind of learned about CVs later on in my job hunt, but the biggest companies use systems, AI systems, to read CVs. It's called ATS, and basically what the ATS system is looking for is keywords in the CV, and it's looking for things like numbers that quantify a skill. So I was a captain of a netball team, for instance. Instead, what the ATS system is looking for is something like, I captained 30 girls on a tour of the UK for 3 weeks. It's looking for those quantifiable skills. So when I started learning more about the ATS system, that a lot of the larger
It's like we've lost reception. We've
Yes.
Casey, hopefully she'll come back on.
Yeah.
I mean, Sonia, until, sorry, Casey, you went off a minute. So in the sense of getting that salient point that you was mentioning about the kind of extra curriculum stuff you did.
Yeah. I think I definitely encourage people to put their CVs through ATS scanners online. I think that's really important. And it's the little things like starting each sentence with an adverb and using those numbers to quantify your skills. And I'd also encourage them to add in their experiences, no matter how small. If they've got a YouTube channel, if they film something, if they can edit something, add that in, because they're all valuable skills. But yeah, definitely getting more acquainted with the ATS system, because I think that's something they don't teach you in university, and it actually means that a lot of people get knocked out of the running based on their CV, because these ATS systems might not even be able to read their CV. It needs to be in black and white. It needs to be in plain English. You can't have graphics all over it. It needs to be a PDF, for instance, because otherwise it gets scrambled and they're out of the running before humans even read their CV. So yeah, ATS systems are definitely the first one I would probably look into. And yeah, like I said before, building as much experience by yourself if you have the opportunity to, and showing that you're proactive.
Quite interesting. Yes. I see Julia has her hand up again.
Thank you, Casey. I'm just going to share something, and perhaps to the group as well. I was invited to what we call PREC, which is Peterborough Racial Equality Board in Peterborough, and there was a mum who was saying she wants to do something because she doesn't feel that sufficient support is out there for young people between the ages of 11 and 17, although she's just increased the age number up to 21. And while we were during the pandemic, she did a couple of sessions on Zoom, and she found that she was exceeding more than 20 young people attending that group session. So they've now, because obviously the pandemic is more manageable now, or the plandemic as I would call it, she now does a Saturday club mainly for Caribbean children, but the door is open. Nobody is exempt to anyone. And Saturday just gone, she exceeded over 40 young people to attend that session. Now, it's interesting that you talk about the ATS systems, and what we found was here is an area of expertise where I think as leaders within the community, what we can do better to support them, especially where in schools, in further education, it is still problematic. So I'm really pleased that Casey is sharing, you know, the benefit of her wisdom of where she is now, what she's gone on to achieve. And I have put something into the chat, Casey, so I'm hoping that you're able to see. But do you think, as a community advocate and a community adversary for Windrush, because that's what I represent, do you think any more can be done outside of that? So at the moment, we're calling it the Culture Club on a Saturday. Yeah. But what we have found is lots of people now are interested in coming down. And although I think in the team leaders who presents this session on a Saturday, I think it's going out twice a month. There's only 2 teachers and the rest are volunteers from elder people in the community. And we're going through things like applications, how to appear for an interview, what you need to say, how you need to be dressed in a certain way, and just giving them some basics skill sets such as to be confident. I've always said no question isn't a question. All questions are relevant. So if they need to ask something, then they mustn't feel that at any given opportunity, whether they're working in Burger King or McDonald's, or, you know, they've got, I don't know, potential interviews coming. And I would say out of the 40 young people that has come to our sessions now, we've had 7 apply for jobs and they've all been given the jobs.
Wow, that's amazing.
This is what I'm saying. So there are lots of things, and it's interesting that you've made the comment about ATS, because I don't think to the wider audience, or even I'm hearing this for the first time from you, that is a particular area that is actually now being accessed to look at where information can be provided, and then probably look at, you say, the skill sets, the diversity within each area, location. And if they haven't got somebody within those areas fitting those job descriptions, they will maybe pick them up from those triggers. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And if you can elaborate a little bit more, where do they get the stats from, or how do they go about doing that, please?
So basically, the ATS system is an AI system that will go through and read each CV and pull out keywords. So what I did with each application I did is that I took the job description, I took keywords from the job description and made sure that they were somewhere on my CV, because that's what the AI is looking for. It's looking for, so if the job description says teamwork, somewhere in there I'll be like strong team leader. Like I need something to say team to get the AI to pick that up and to show it. There are scanners online which can tell you how strong your CV is, and it can also give you advice on where it's weak. It also needs things like clear and succinct bullet points, so the ATS system can read it clearly. It doesn't want graphics too much, but I think that's dependent on the role. I feel like if you're going for a creative role, sometimes I would say graphics kind of show a bit more of your personality, but the majority of the large companies now are using this ATS system. So a lot of people who probably are qualified for the job may be getting filtered out because their CV isn't formatted in a way that the AI can recognize. Like CV should always be in PDF form, because when they go in Word form, it jumbles it up as it goes through the AI and it can't read it. It's just little tips like that. So obviously if you've got all the skills, but like they're all written backwards to the AI, it filters you out. So I think it's just adapting to this new technical way of recruitment that is currently happening and adjusting your CV to match that to make sure
that's brilliant.
You have like the best chance possible. I need to look into the resources properly, but I've got some stuff on my laptop at home and I'll definitely send it on to you if you're interested.
Yes, please. I'll put my details in the chat, and if you kindly would, because I think that would be one of the key advantage to support young people, because they're now just beginning to venture out into the workforce, and I need to make sure with also the other leaders that we're actually giving them the best advice and the most current and recent advice. And I think what we've actually found out is that some of the people who I was supporting, the young people, haven't got access to computers or you know, Chromebooks or whatever. So we're making that accessible at, as I say, the centres that we're working from, and they can access anything for in that period, which is from 10 o'clock till 2. Every other Saturday. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you, Casey. And I'll put it in the chat, as I say, so you can contact me directly. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You know,
Yeah,
as we are on the topic, I just wanted to expand on this a little and to say, well, we're talking about young people and employability, and we're beginning to talk about some of the challenges. And this idea about the AI seemed to be one challenge. So what are some of the other challenges that might be affecting young people that we need to take into account? And I'm not just saying that to Casey, but Julia, maybe you might want to share some more on the the key challenges that young people are facing and what else can be done to help them?
If nobody doesn't mind, am I still live? I'm not sure. Am I still live? Yes.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
May I continue, Chair?
Yeah.
Julie,
Well,
be subsistent, because I want young people to learn from young people what steps they've got. So please, and I'm wanting Sonia Winifred as well. So I'm using the opportunity for her experience as well to kind of impart some knowledge to young people who will be watching this about how they can kind of, continue even when there's challenges ahead. So.
Thank you, Nigel, and understood. Basically, we're just building their confidence and identifying those who need that additional support, especially tech-wise, and giving them the tools to enable them to go and do so. If it's because they're from an impoverished background or they haven't got the resources, then we're actually making that possible to enable them to have, all the advantages where in the first instance, they felt that they couldn't because they didn't have that, and we're making those things possible. So I'm happy to network with people if they think that will help. Thank you.
Okay. Nigel?
Thank you. I just think in the sense of hiring Casey, I think the link, it is about Bradford Matters, Black Voices in Conversation, and given them the fact there's a very good link between those who are in London and making that link with Sonia Winifred. I'm really appreciative that she's on this platform, and any kind of insight that she can have, and also that kind of connection. Casey, I think there'll be a very good network on there in terms of the locality as well.
Yeah, definitely. If there's any way I can help, or I'll pass on any information I have.
Yeah, but my question also before Sonia gets on is to you, Casey. How did you pick yourself up? Because not everything is always a success. And how did you get to pick yourself up? I want you to just, explain so other people can say, well, once I'm down, I still can get up in terms of moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's probably a difficult one. I think.
Or has it been a success all the time?
No. I don't think it's been a success all the time. I've definitely had the moments. I think you can't just I think the biggest thing is I'm trying to think of like when it hasn't been a success, like for instance job rejections and things like that. I had a really good conversation with a friend, and she said that when she was going for job interviews, sometimes it's not about your skill, it's more about how you fit within a team, and that's nothing to do with you at all at times. So sometimes teams are looking for a specific type of person, or looking for a specific like if you've got a team full of loud people and you've got this quiet person coming in, sometimes the dynamic doesn't always work best. So I think reminding yourself in terms of like job rejections was probably like some of the low points in this last year. It's kind of reminding yourself that it's not a reflection of your skill or your ability or your intelligence. It's just simply saying that you may not be the right fit for that team. And I think anyone who's worked with people who haven't always got along with, or it hasn't worked out in the way, or the dynamic's been a bit off, will attest to that. Working within a team that works well is far more beneficial than working in a team where everyone's working individually all right and nothing gets done well. So I think it's more important to look at the bigger picture and just kind of look at some of these rejections as, I didn't fit in that team right now, but there's a team that my skill set and my experience would fit in better with. And I definitely found that. And I think I kind of felt good about this interview for the Sky job is when I got on so well with my line manager, well, my now line manager. And I was like, oh, I would really love to work with her. And that was the first time I'd had that in an interview. And it made sense because now when we're working together, we can work more productively. So yeah, don't take rejections as a personal hit on your intelligence or your ability. Look at it as this isn't the right fit for me either, and use interviews to see if you want to work with these people, because interviews can go both ways.
No, I just wanted to add I mentioned it, digital industries, but it's across the board that we're working with young people. around this, and the points around the CVs, that's really important, absolutely important, because it's vital that people do get some leeway with those interviews, because it can be demoralizing as you know you're knocked back, and it just depletes your self-confidence. But I think again, it's about young people being, as they put it, job ready, because we work a great deal also with construction and getting young people ready, and older, and predominantly young Black men ready for these jobs, and working with the contractors. And it's always the same thing, the skills, they're not job ready. So we're having to work with the local adult education, or with Lambeth, bringing the skills industries, bringing people in to work with these young people so they are job ready. Otherwise, we're setting people up to fail. You have to start and give that confidence so that when they enter the workplace, whatever it is, could be digitization, digital world, industries, or on that building site, that they know exactly what's expected of them, and we're not setting them up to fail. So as I say, Guy, it's across the board. It's a lot going on, but it's having those young people involved, asking them what they want, how they feel things are working, and getting them to, as much as possible, lead on some of these projects, so they feel they are already empowered from the beginning to then, and that again is part of the confidence building. A lot of them are coming from, they may be they've been in carers, they've just left care. So there's so much involved in that confidence building for these young people. So it's just to say that it's across the board. It's about building that confidence, and so they're not set up to fail.
I think just a comment from me, really. You've provided, oftentimes I think as at the other end of the employment spectrum and the end of the cycle, that we often look at young people and talk about the skills and abilities, and we know that they're aspiring and up and coming. And actually, I think what you have reflected today is real aspiration and a real motivation as well, which I think has been, certainly I've been inspired by listening to you. And actually just reflected on the young people that we're working with, and actually the young people I've worked with and stuff. So I just want to thank you for your contribution today, Casey, because I think it's been absolutely, really inspiring and professional.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I can share what I've learned so far. And like I said, I'll probably put my email in the chat if anyone wants to email me and connect on anything we've talked about as well. Because I'd love to help out anywhere possible.
Great,
thank you.
It's been great. Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're coming to the end now. So Casey, I like to do that at the end of all the conversation. It's to say, just to remind us, what are the key lessons for you and the key lessons for young people from your journey?
Key lessons are: strive to do more, because the worst thing they can say is no. Create as many opportunities as possible. And I think I've forgotten the third one now. Yeah, I think just travel and do things that scare you, because you don't know if you're going to love them.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Well, Casey, just to say thank you very much, Lewis, for hosting. Casey Magloire, our special guest speaker, up and coming professional leading in the industry of digital media and other things. I'm sure we will watch closely your progression into leadership. And one of our previous speakers says that a great leader is somebody who is really good at what they do at this present moment in time. So it doesn't mean that you have to be at the echelon, the very top of senior positions, but I'm hoping that you can reach those levels and impart your knowledge as well. And the networking with Sonia Winifred and Julia Davidson and the people on this platform, hopefully that can continue. because what this is about is inspiring young people to have and overcome what fears they may have and overcome the challenges and know that they have the ability and support and the networks to achieve what they'd love to achieve and like to achieve. So thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us on this series of Bradford Matters.
Let's give Casey a round of applause for her contribution.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you,
It has
Casey.
been a UK-wide dialogue and conversation, and we're grateful for people who have taken the time to kind of be involved in this. And I know people are very busy, and we thank you very much. And this will be on YouTube, so thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Guy, and well done.
Conversation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Great job.
Bye.
Well done, Casey, again.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.